Hey, coffee lovers, Marc here from Whole Latte Love with a look at the exciting new REV Series grinders from Ceado. So back in 2014, I reviewed a grinder that changed everything for me, the Ceado E37S right here, with its massive 83mm flat burrs and powerhouse motor. It was a gold standard for prosumers and cafes alike, my favorite grinder. For more than a decade, it was my go-to for testing. When I needed the best possible grind, the E37S was my choice. And you know, buddy, I love you, but good things evolve, right? So today I say goodbye to my faithful reference grinder, the E37S, and we're gonna go to something new that evokes that magical feeling that I used to get. Now, so we're clear, the E37S here is still available and an excellent option for those moving up to expert level grinding. But let me introduce you to the Ceado REV Series, the steel and the Titan models. More than an upgrade, they really are a revolution. Created from the legacy of the E37S, it's a whole new look with new tech. The REVs are Ceado's entry into weight-based grinding. They're built from the ground up for that purpose, but both are also available in timed versions that are upgradable to weight-based grinding by installing what Ceado calls the WHAM. That stands for Weight Adjustment Module. They feature digital grind size tracking, 83mm steel or titanium coated burrs, a grinds temperature management system with automatic fan cooling, and flexible operating modes that can work for both prosumer level users and in busy cafes. You know, of course, Ceado grinders are made in Italy in a small town just outside of Venice, and as Ceado has focused on designing flavor, they've moved critical manufacturing totally in-house. So parts like the housings for these guys, the burr sets, the massive 5.5-pound aluminum heatsink grind chamber, even the fastening hardware are all machined by Ceado. So coming up, I'll take you through how I like to operate the REVs, plus cover all the details that go into what Ceado says is the most stable grinder available, how its grind temperature management system mitigates heat in high demand commercial use, look at features like digital grind size tracking, and more. I'll also have my favorite part, the detailed test results, including graphs of particle distribution for both of the burr sets, median particle grind size ranges. I'll check grinding speed and accuracy of time grinding, and consistency of weight-based grinding, and cover basic flavor characteristics of the burrs. So we're looking at two models in the REV series, the Steel and the Titan. On both you can choose either timed operation or weight-based grinding with Ceado's WHAM grind by weight adjustment module. If you go with a timed version, you can upgrade it to weight-based down the road. The WHAM module is available separately and installs in minutes. Here's a look at specs by model. Burr size again, that's 83mm for both. The Steel uses steel burrs and the Titan uses titanium coated steel. The titanium coated burrs, they use a harder steel than the uncoated burrs, resulting in a longer lifespan of 2,500 kilograms. The burr sets in the REVs can be used with any coffee, but from a flavor design standpoint, Ceado says the REV Steel's burrs tend to minimize acidity, and that's going to be good for medium to dark roast, while the Titans tend to produce more body and bring out acidity, so they're preferred for denser medium to light roasts, and they're going to produce a flavor profile that works really well in milk-based drinks. Both grinders operate at 1700 RPM, but the Titan has more power at 6 amps and grinds up a little faster, up to about 6 grams per second for espresso, depending on your bean type and grind setting. We'll take a look at that when I do some testing later. The steel burrs are NSF rated for commercial applications. Both models have 3 levels of automatic fan cooling and the same 3.2-inch touchscreen. Depending on the model, you're going to have 3 timed or weight presets plus manual grinding. Weight is substantial at about 32 pounds for the Steel and over 37 for the Titan. These are solid grinders. The 6.5-inch square housing footprint is the same for both. The Titan is a bit taller at 20.5 inches to the top of the stock hopper. So we recently placed 2 REV grinders at Working Class Coffee's second location in Finger Lakes wine country in upstate New York. Turns out I'm not the only one upgrading to the REV from the E37S. Now, Working Class has been using E37Ss at their Canandaigua location, and they're going to continue to use those. But for a second location in Geneva, they chose REV grinders. Derek DePorter, the owner, says, and I quote, "Wow, these things are awesome." So let's break down what makes the new Ceado REV line a true flagship. The steel and the Titan are built around those huge 83mm flat burrs that produce really beautiful, extra fluffy, clump-free grinds, but it's what's behind those burrs that helps set these grinders apart. The star of the show here, again, that's a Ceado's weight adjustment module, or WHAM, grinding by weight. Yeah, it's a game changer. You know, set your dose, place your portafilter, and pull consistent shots every time without even thinking about it. With WHAM, you can expect weight accuracy within 2% dose to dose. But you don't have to go with WHAM right away. I mean, at this level, you really probably should, but every REV, again, is available as a time-dosed version, but it's upgrade ready, so you can decide to add WHAM down the road. Why might you wait? I don't know, maybe you're keeping the budget in check, maybe you're already dialed in on time dosing, or you just want to start simple. But if and when you're ready, the upgrade is painless. 4 screws, plug in a cable, and boom, you're grinding by weight. So start with a version that's going to make sense for you, and know the full WHAM experience is just an easy upgrade away. Now, Ceado's GTM, that's Grounds Temperature Management System, really is next level. It's made up of 3 components. First, check out this huge grinding chamber. It weighs in at 5.5 pounds of aluminum. It absorbs the heat from grinding. Then it's got an automatic fan at the base. It's going to pull air in from the back of the grinder around that massive heatsink and across the motor to exit at the bottom. The third part of GTM is the Steady Lock system. It's a flexible coupling insulating the motor shaft from the burst shaft, preventing heat transfer and thermal expansion in periods of heavy use. The result? Stable grind temperatures. So no need to be constantly tweaking your grind size. You'll get consistent espresso extractions even under heavy use. Now, like that if you're cranking things out for a crowd at home, and it's an exciting game changer really for fast-paced commercial use. You're not going to have to mess around with that grind size all day. Using what Ceado calls a line for advanced leveling intelligent grinding nexus, the REV grinders digitally track the burr position on a scale from 1 to 10. The system displays your current grind setting. When you make a change, the scale pops up on the display. Now there's a small thumbtack icon below the scale. Tap that and you can put a pin in for your current burr position. So if you make a change, you're going to have a really good point of reference when you make that change so you can get back to it. The grind setting is stepless, and each whole number there represents, on average, a 5-second change in shot timing. Resolution is intense, so you have excellent precision when dialing in. A bright and reactive upward-facing 3.2-inch TFT touchscreen display gives you quick access to all of the REV's functions and settings. On the home screen, you'll see your current grind setting up top and current time or weight presets, and the hand icon for manual grinding. Touching the setting or turning the knob takes you into the grind size scale. Touch the thumbtack to drop a pin on the current setting. And again, with that, you're going to have a good reference, so it's easy to get back to a setting if you need to. You can arrow back to the home screen from here, or leave it alone and it's going to jump right back on its own. Now, back on the home screen, press and hold a preset to open dose adjustment. Select what you want to adjust and use the plus and minus keys to make a change, and the check mark to save and return to the menu, and then touch the home icon to return to the home screen. Touching the hamburger icon brings you to the menu screen. There you can change doses, choose how the grinder starts, customize the display layout, choosing which dosing options appear on the home screen, and check counters for each dose type. Under burrs, you'll get a graph of burr life. As the burrs age, the graph loses the taller line and the rest change color from green to yellow to red. Encoder Reset zeroes out the grind scale. For that, set grind size to its finest setting and press the check mark to calibrate to 0. In the fan item, you can choose from 3 activation levels. 1 is low intensity with a longer wait until fan activation and a shorter runtime once the fan starts. An algorithm controls things with a 30% increase in response and runtimes with each higher number in the setting. So a setting of 1 is what you're probably going to want to use on a home bar, and if you're in a busy cafe, you're probably going to want to set that to 3. Under filter cleaning, you can reset the cleaning time alert after cleaning the air filter. In work area light, choose from 4 colors for the light that shines on your coffee when grinding and adjust its brightness. My personal favorite is amber. Display brightness changes the display's luminosity. Under display standby, set the display to wake up instantly, and how long until the display goes into standby and dims the display. When you first start the Rev, you'll be prompted to set the language, but you're going to be able to change that at any time in the menu as needed. Under date hour, set date and time. Selecting user manual, it's going to bring up a QR code to go to the online manual. Under scale, you can turn the scale on and off and do a load cell calibration by placing a known weight on the WAM module and pressing the check mark to calibrate. Under the manager menu, you can input or change the password. When invoked, the password locks out or hides changes to things like doses and the scale, depending on what is flagged. Pressing info, that's going to display firmware and model number details. The portafilter holder on both timed and weight-based revs is adjustable to secure a portafilter for hands-free grinding and accommodates standard spouted and bottomless portafilters. When set properly, that beautiful, fluffy, clump-free grind delivers well-centered. In my use, I could seriously overfill and the grinds stack up nice with no spill. My favorite way of using the grinder is in the pre-selected mode. With that, just select the dose you want on the home screen, place the portafilter, and grinding starts on time-based models when the switch is activated or once the scale tears itself on weight-based models. If you use the grinder in PFA bypass mode, you place the portafilter, then select the dose, and grinding starts. Timed models have 2 additional start modes. There's Click Start and 2-Step. Click Start uses presses of the portafilter switch to select from the 3 presets. With 2-Step, you place the portafilter, select the dose, and grinding starts. In 2-Step and pre-selected modes, there's an additional option for pulsing. If that's on, grinding pauses when the portafilter activation switch is released and resumes when it's pressed again. Depending on the mode, you can pause, stop, and resume grinding on the screen or by releasing and reactivating the portafilter switch on models without WAM. Press and hold the hand icon to use manual grinding on all flavors of the Rev. You can use manual to grind a whole dose or use it to bump a dose for as little as 1/10 of a second. When I test grinders, my first step in testing is always dialing them in to plus or minus 10% of a median particle size of 250 microns. I do that using a Lightel CM200 particle analyzer, reanalyzing each sample 5 times and taking the average. I started with a Titan. It took me 3 dial-ins to get a 248 micron median particle size. I got that at a grind setting of 2.3. Now here's a graph of the particle distribution from both the grinders, so you got the steel burrs and the titanium burrs, and I'll leave that up so you can look at it. Now, what was really cool and kind of surprising was when I went to test the steel, I just set it to the same 2.3 grind setting and nailed a median particle size of 249 microns on the very first test. Now, maybe I just got super lucky. The grind setting numbers are just referenced and do not indicate a particular particle size, but whatever, it was really cool. Now, looking at the graphs, notice the ever so slightly higher percentage in the fines range of the Titan with the titanium burrs. Likely, that's where you're going to maybe pick up a bit more acidity. Other than that, the graphs are strikingly similar in what I expect at this level of grinder. I tested grinding speed in the non-WAM versions of both grinders after dialing into the 250 micron median particle size. I ran 5 5-second grind cycles and weighed the results. The steel came in at 4.2 grams per second. It was about 5.2 for the Titan. Now, those are a bit off Ceado's published ratings of 5 and 6 grams, but do keep in mind these ratings will change based on bean type and the grind size used. For time grinding dose accuracy, I use the data from the grinding speed tests. The steel's average output in the 5 tests was 21.1 grams, so accuracy was plus or minus 0.4 grams. For the Titan, average output was 25.82 grams across the test, with a max dose-to-dose variation that was once again about 0.4 grams. As a percentage of total weight out, variation from average was 1.9% for the steel and 1.47% for the Titan. For weight-based grinding using WHAM, Ceado's target accuracy is plus or minus 0.2 grams. In my testing, requesting an 18-gram dose, my average dose over 5 tests was 18.02 grams. In the 5 doses, 3 were off by 0.1 gram, 1 by 0.2 grams, and 1 was perfect. For reference, 0.2 grams in an 18-gram dose is a 1.1% difference. Ceado says the WHAM algorithm self-corrects as needed by sampling output weights several times per second when grinding. When the dose is complete and the circle becomes green, the actual finished weight is measured, and then the algorithm makes corrections for subsequent doses as needed. Ceado says when the grinder is first used or when grind size or bean type changes, it takes 3 doses for the algorithm to zero in on the 0.2 gram accuracy. Now, I did not bother measuring the sound level of these grinders. You know, I've used a lot of grinders and you're probably not going to find any that are much quieter. I tested grind size range using the particle analyzer, taking samples at the finest and coarsest setting and reanalyzing each 5 times and using the average of those. Here's the REV's 200 to 628 median particle size range overlaid on a chart of median sizes by brew method. Now, the REVs are espresso specialists. Now, grind size adjustment on the REVs is stepless, but if you do the math with a range of 428 microns and 100 indicated settings, each 0.1 change adjusts median particle size by about 4¼ microns. You know, one of the things I always loved and found magical about my trusted E37S was the easy access to the burrs. Remove 3 beefy screws and you're in and you don't lose the grind setting. This was a revelation a decade or so ago, especially compared to the Mazzer grinders I'd been using at the time. Those had exposed burr adjustment threads that would gum up with coffee and oils and honestly just drive me crazy. The REV grinders have the same easy access as the E37S. Remove 3 trunky screws and the upper stationary burr assembly comes right off with no loss of grind setting. The REV's top burr is stationary, a similar setup to many Eureka grinders. What's different though in the Ceado is how the REV's bottom burr adjusts. Eurekas have a shaft through the motor to adjust burr position. In heavy use, that's likely to have some thermal expansion and cause a change in grind size when things get warm. The REV's adjustment is all done within the 5.5-pound heat-sinking grind chamber assembly, so no chance of motor-induced thermal grind drift, with a separate insulated shaft turning the burrs. Loosen an easily accessible screw and the entire grind chute pulls out for cleaning. I love the large diameter of the chute. I have yet to see any coffee hang up in the chute and have seen no evidence of static. On the back, remove 4 screws to get at the dust filter and remove for cleaning. The grinder alerts you when that's needed. After cleaning, go into the menu and press the check mark to reset the cleaning time alert. REV build quality is superb. The main body is a single piece of seamless aluminum. High quality fasteners are used where it counts. The grind size adjustment is smooth and precise, and I like the rubberized feel of the adjustment knob. Components are all heavy duty. These grinders are built for years of use and can take the abuse they might get in commercial applications. REV grinders ship with the smaller hoppers, but for high volume commercial use, a larger hopper is available. The WHAM module is available individually, so if you didn't start with it, you can upgrade to weight-based grinding. Remove 4 screws, plug in the serial cable, super simple, you're grinding by weight. Grounds delivered to the portafilter are excellent, fluffy, clump and static free. The coffee piles up centered with very little, if any, spill. Personally, I did not need to use a dosing funnel, even when overfilling a lot. But if you do want to use one, go for a split ring version like this Vitamin Mignon style to maintain hands-free operation. So who are the Rev grinders for? Well, I can't say enough about how much I love weight-based grinding. Set your target dose, drop in the portafilter, and the grinder does the rest. No fussing with scales or double checking every shot. With most time grinders, even great ones like my old E37S, changing the grind size means your dose weight is going to change too. And it's back to weighing, tweaking, and wasting time. The Revs equipped with the WHAM weight-based system make all of that disappear. For home baristas, it's pure freedom, a faster workflow and perfectly consistent shots every time. In a busy cafe, it's a serious upgrade, saving time, cutting wasted coffee, and keeping quality rock steady from the morning rush through to the afternoon lull. And thanks to Ceado's steady lock and grind temperature management, the Rev holds its grind size even as things heat up. No constant dialing in. Bottom line, whether you're dialing in at home or serving a line of customers, the Ceado Revs, they're going to deliver efficiency, consistency, and a whole lot more great coffee with a lot less hassle. As always, if you have questions on the Ceado Rev grinders or anything coffee and espresso related, use the comments and I'd be happy to get you a detailed answer. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark, and if you love coffee and espresso as much as I do, be sure to subscribe to the channel and enable those notifications so you don't miss out on more of the best on everything coffee, brought to you by Whole Latte Love.